Month's meeting of the Metropolitan Transportation Licensing Commission. Pursuant to the provisions of Section 2.68.030 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, notice is hereby given that if you are not satisfied with the decision made by the Metropolitan Transportation Licensing Commission, you may appeal the decision by petitioning for a writ of certiorari with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of the entry of the Metropolitan Transportation Licensing Commission's decision. We advise that you seek your own independent legal advice to ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been met. At this time, please stand and we can say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Prior to today, Mr. Fields circulated last month's minutes for approval. Has the commission had a chance to review those minutes?
Found one item.
You found one item?
I don't have it with me. Word was misspelled. Instead of accessible, it was sorry.
Could it be on page, third page, 88,
Yeah, right after ADA.
be accessible?
Yeah. There's some word that didn't fit.
Under special meeting?
Well, I don't see it now.
Although I don't see it.
It's on the, if you look on the top of the second page, you'll see the chart. In the second paragraph after the chart, I'm not sure what that word is.
The SEIBEL?
That's,
I'm thinking it's supposed to be accessible.
it is, it should be.
That's all.
Spell check.
Wanted to make sure you knew that somebody read the minutes.
We appreciate that.
Sorry for the delay.
Would you like to make a motion regarding the minutes?
I would move approval with the change from the unknown word to accessible.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. The first.
I would have told you earlier. I just read it a few minutes.
Color television, it's going to be great.
The next item on our agenda is new company applications for wreckers and towing services. Mr. Fields?
Victory Towing is renewing their permit. They've been an existing company. Everything is in order and would ask you to approve.
I move for approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes for Victory Towing. Next item under wreckers and towing services, we have a number of new driver applications. Mr. Fields?
All the drivers are in order. I would like for you to speak with Carlton Mims separately on an issue, but the rest are applications are in order. Would ask you to approve them.
Let's first take the applications that are in order. Is there a motion regarding those applications, Commission?
Move that they be accepted.
Second.
All those in favor of granting the new driver applications approval with the exception of Carlton Mims, who will be addressed next. Say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes for those applicants. Next, we have Carlton Mims. Is Mr. Mims present? Mr. Fields, do you have any introductory remarks regarding Mr. Mims?
Mr. Mims applied, and there are some charges here that I wanted to make sure that you were aware of. Earlier this year, he was charged with a domestic assault with bodily injury. Last year, he also had an assault, an aggravated assault, as well as the year before, in 2011, actually had a couple. So it was just an issue that I wanted to make sure that you reviewed as a commission.
Were they all disclosed on the application?
I'm sorry?
Were they all disclosed on the application?
Everything was fine there. The only issue
Okay.
that we had was when the record check came back.
Okay.
What are all these rapes on here?
Fields, I did not see in the materials I received the disclosure by Mr. Mims of his prior criminal record.
It looks like that would be on the back of that page. Is that not? I'm sorry, that page was inadvertently left out.
Mr. Mims, did you fill out this page that outlines about 10, and I'll turn it around in just a second, but there's like 10 different lines for information regarding your criminal record. It's handwritten, then it says, I have listed all charges on TBI report.
I filled out 2 applications, sir. The one that I went back has everything on there in totality. Also, I wanted to give y'all this before we got started too. This from the Metro Council.
Different dates.
Everything that's on there, I got off the TBI report, sir, and I listed it on there. They got 2 applications from me. I'm not sure if they're submitting the first one or the second.
Robert.
I paid $40 2 times.
Okay.
I'm sure the commission has a number of questions regarding your application. Do you have any remarks you'd like to make?
Yes, sir. Well, pretty much, as I was explaining to the lady when I went to the desk, it's one thing when you look at a piece of paper and see what's going on. I was in a relationship, where a lot of these charges stem from that I'm no longer in. I was living in Clarksville, Tennessee. We had a business together. Things just really spiraled out of control. As you can read, I brought my paperwork from the judge down there where the charges that you see were dismissed over and over and over again. These charges I was not convicted of. The only felony I've ever had was 13 years ago, except for the domestic, and I pled guilty to that because I was just tired of the situation, period. But as far as assaults, I've never been convicted of no assaults, and I brought all the paperwork from the judge to show you. As well as a councilman that got a chance to see a little bit of what was going on, because he also has a church down there in Clarksville, Tennessee. So I went with counseling with him. So he sent this letter of recommendation to y'all today.
All of these rape charges were with the same woman?
Right. And as you can see, everything was acquitted.
Now, the council person you're referring to, that's Mr. Maynard?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Maynard says he's known you since 2008.
Well, he's known me since 2008. He knows of the relationship that I was in.
Okay. And since 2008, you have been arrested for several criminal charges.
That were dismissed, yes, sir.
That's what I had a hard time in reviewing the TBI report is showing what was showing the disposition of the charges.
Oh, okay, well,
And
You want
is
to hand those
Mr.
forward?
yeah, the chief made everything so and wrote y'all some notes.
I'll pass these to you, Mr. McNally.
Now, Mr. Councilman Maynard, was he aware of your arrest in 2013 and 2012?
Yeah, he's aware of the whole situation. He actually...
No, just, I want to keep it real simple, please.
Yes.
He doesn't say anything about the whole situation or about your relationship with this person that resulted in, as you've explained, numerous criminal charges. He says he's observed you in the Clarksville community, working with children and providing food and clothing and doing good work.
Right.
But there's nothing in his letter about the unfortunate arrest of you, as you say, as a result of some other person doing this.
Well,
So why is that missing?
well, the purpose of the letter was supposed to be a character letter. It wasn't for the purpose of the charge, you know what I'm saying? Although he did counsel me and her, or whatever the case may be, he didn't go into that part. He left a phone number if y'all wanted to contact him, as well as it was supposed to be a character letter to let y'all know where I was at.
Okay. But we all know the reason we're here and you're here is because of your criminal record.
Right, that was dismissed. I understand that, sir.
All right, now you said you have, before we start looking at these judgment forms, you said 13 years ago you had a felony.
Yes.
What was that for?
That was simple kidnapping.
Kidnapping.
Right.
Okay. That's a felony, obviously, and it was a Class B felony?
I believe it was a Class C.
Okay.
It was upgraded.
And what did you get on that?
They gave me 4 years probation. I pled out to that as well. Pled 4 years. They gave me 4 years probation. And then that was the end of that.
Can you tell me the specifics of that?
Oh, me and my fiance at the time got into it. She said that I didn't allow her to leave the house. It was no physical violence or anything like that. No punching, no stabbing, no cutting, or nothing like that.
No, that would have aggravated it to an aggravated kidnapping.
Right.
Yeah.
She said I didn't let her leave the house, and that's how they charged me, and I accepted the plea.
Okay. 4 years probation. How did you do on probation?
It was done.
Did you complete it without a probation violation?
I don't believe I got a probation violation. If I did, it got dropped. I've never been. You know what? When I caught the charges they did violate me, but I was already in jail. But I was not found guilty of what I was violated for. So by the time I went for trial, my time was already done.
All right.
That's exactly what it is.
So we're real clear on the record here, okay? You got a 4-year sentence that was probated for 4 years for kidnapping, a Class C felony.
Right.
During the course of your 4 years probation, you were violated for new arrest, correct?
Right.
And you were in jail.
Right.
And you served the remainder of your sentence in custody.
Well, the reason why I had to reserve the remainder of it is because the time that it takes you to get in court, that's how long it took me to get in court. So when I finally got in court, within that first hour, they found me not guilty and I was acquitted. So I was told that you wasn't supposed to be violated prior. If you haven't been found guilty of the charge you violated, you're not supposed to, the charge is supposed to come up before you violate. That didn't happen.
Okay, I have to deal with what did happen, and I appreciate your explanation. But you got violated and you served the remainder of your kidnapping sentence in custody until you flattened it, as it was commonly referred to, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, the underlying charge, what was that? Or the other charge, the collateral
charge that she was talking about, the charge that the girl had put on
The
me
rape.
for rape.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So while I was waiting to go to trial, it took me, I stayed in there for 3.5 years waiting to go to trial. 3.5 years of my life I waited.
In prison?
No, they left me down there in Montgomery County. They didn't send me to the prison. They decided that they didn't want to do that. They wanted me to stay down there. So by the time I went to court and they acquitted me of all and exonerated me from all charges, I had already served 3.5 years of my life.
And you were completing your sentence for the kidnapping charge too, as well, during that 3.5 years.
No, they was trying to wait for me to go to trial. I was in jail on the charge. It just so happened that time I counted.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it flattened your kidnapping
Right.
sentence.
So that's what
you
happened.
were completing a sentence while you were waiting that 3.5 years.
Right.
Okay. And that was in the Montgomery County Jail?
Montgomery County Jail, but the violation, they never
Did you go to
away.
trial, or was the case dismissed on the rape charge?
I went to trial on it.
And the jury came back not guilty?
They're not guilty. Every single one of them, they exonerated me.
And that is in what year?
Y'all have my paperwork.
All right.
Everything is on there.
Well, the first one I'm looking at here was the aggravated assault, domestic assault, where you entered a guilty plea and got 11 months, 29 days at 75%.
So they did away with that aggravated assault.
Okay, that would have been the year 2000. Now, what about the next rape charge? Where'd that come from?
That particular case, and it's a long story, that particular case, when I was charged with that, the same district attorney was on there, brought me before, because I was already charged. When you charge one thing, they sit up here and try to tack something else on. And everything that you see that's in that particular, the lady also wrote some notes in there, they completely acquitted me.
Okay. I understand now, looking at this judgment form. You had 4 counts of rape from
Right.
one incident. Hold,
Okay.
let me finish,
Go ahead.
okay? Just so I make sure I can kind of summarize this.
Right.
Judgment form shows 4 counts of rape for one incident with, I assume, one victim?
Right.
All right. And it says jury trial, and it says you were found not guilty after the jury trial
Right.
on all 4 counts.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that's the case that caused your kidnapping probation to be violated, and you were serving your sentence on the kidnapping charge.
Right, but they never violated me, sir.
Well, I
They were
thought you
waiting
just
for
told
me.
me they violated you.
No, sir. What I'm saying is that I was on probation. I got picked up for this charge. While I was waiting to go to court for 3.5 years, that time that I was in there, it killed the time that I was
flattened
supposed to
your
do.
kidnapping sentence.
My lawyer went back and had them to remove the violation because there was no violation if you're not found guilty of what you was charged with.
They did not reinstate you on probation for the kidnapping charge, did they?
Negative. They let me go.
They flattened your sentence.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, I'm holding a misdemeanor domestic assault conviction for April 13th, 2012 in my hands. There's a plea of guilty.
Yes, I plead guilty.
All right. And that was just last year, right?
Right. Yes, sir.
Okay. What are the facts behind that one?
Facts are behind me and the young lady.
Stephanie Douglas?
Right. Me and Stephanie Douglas, that's the one that, through the course of all this, we had a business in Clarksville, No Limits Taxi. It was just constant because of the things that we was constantly going through. Every time I did something that she didn't like, she would call the police.
Wait. This happened more than one time?
No, I'm talking about she tried to put aggravated assault charges on me.
Right.
So she would call the police would dismiss it. My parents are very well known in Clarksville as far as, different people and different things. So in the process of me going and talking to these people, they like, you need to back off this situation. This ain't good for you. So like I was telling somebody else today, she wanted to take control of the business from me. And every time I did not do everything that she wanted me to do, she would put a charge on me. They would dismiss it. And this kept going on for a course of 4 to 5 years. We was in this relationship. I can show you pictures.
Why didn't you end that relationship? I'm sorry. But
Sir, it's easy for somebody to say, okay, end it. But I'm the type of person, when I love, I love. And I was hoping that things would get better. The last step, and if we wasn't in front of a whole bunch of females and everything, I can show you stab wounds that I have this long on me from her.
all right, let's just go through from 2010. I just want to get your response to
Okay, that's
questions
fine.
about these. All right. On May 3rd, 2010, you were charged with aggravated assault with a weapon, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is that with this same lady again?
Yes, sir.
And is that Stephanie Douglas?
Yes, it is.
All right. And that case was dismissed.
Yes, it was, sir.
3 months prior to that, February 8th, 2010, you're charged with domestic assault. Is that again also with Stephanie Douglas?
Yes, it is.
All right. And then roughly a year later, April 26, 2011, you're charged with aggravated assault and domestic assault with bodily injury. Is that also with Miss Douglas?
Yes.
All right.
And
it's,
this was dismissed.
well, What's the one for April 13th, 2012 that you pled guilty on? Is that another one then? Is that another one
That's the
after?
one that you just brought, the one that you just said to me was the one that I pled guilty to.
I'm sorry, but you just told me it was dismissed. That's why I'm asking you.
Oh, no, the domestic assault,
You pled guilty.
right, the
Why'd you plead
aggravated
guilty?
assault was dismissed.
Why'd you plead guilty?
I'm just ready for it to be over. I'm just ready for all this to be over. I left Clarksville, came down here. I was just ready for it to be over. And I have to
You
drag
just
it
get
out.
off probation April 13th, 2013?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes,
Did
sir.
you get through probation okay?
Yes, sir, no violations, no nothing.
All right. What's the January 18th, 2013 charge for assault with domestic bodily injury?
Okay, now,
Is that something all different than all these other things we've talked about so far?
that's the same thing that you're talking about. I believe. I don't have the paperwork right in front of me.
Well, what I'm doing is I'm going from the judgment forms you provided us to the TBI background check. And what I noticed different was the TBI background check says January 18, 2013, that was the arrest date on a charge of domestic assault bodily injury. The judgment form you provided me says the offense date was April 26, 2011.
Okay, then what's the date?
So
What's the date
what's
on
this
that?
other charge from 2013 this year?
Right,
You got arrested this year.
right.
Okay, while on probation out of Montgomery County on the previous domestic assault charge, right?
Negative. Negative. If you want to call...
Well, wait, I just asked you, did you get off probation April of 2013?
Sir, I don't have the dates in front of me, but what I'm saying is that I have not violated no probation is what I'm saying.
I didn't ask you if you violated, I asked you if you got arrested while on probation.
No, I didn't get arrested.
Okay.
I was off probation.
Well, let's back up again and try this. This plea of guilty, waiver of jury trial, for your guilty plea to domestic assault
Right.
is dated as filed on April 13th, 2012. And I asked you, did you just get off probation for that charge on April of 2013 this year, just a few months ago, and you said yes.
Okay,
Correct?
so...
Yes or no?
I'm trying to see what you're trying to ask me.
Answer the question.
You what I'm saying is that you're asking me the date. I got off probation. I did not get violated. You was asking me if I got violated.
No,
for
I
it.
didn't ask you, but that's where we're getting to. But this has what looks like your signature, Carlton Mims,
Right.
dated April 13th, 2012.
Okay.
It says Class A misdemeanor, 11 months, 29 days, suspended, time served, stay away from Stephanie Douglas, probation transfer to Davidson County. Now, 11 months, 29 days would mean you'd be coming off probation on April 12th, 2013.
My probation gave me early.
Okay.
They completely exonerated. She said
Now-
I was doing good, so she let me off.
I don't know when your probation ended, but let's just ask this then. April 18th of 2013, you got arrested, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
In Davidson County
Yes, sir.
for domestic assault, bodily injury.
Yes, sir.
With Stephanie, was this Stephanie Douglas again?
No, this is the lady that I was with.
Another lady.
Right.
Okay.
Looks like it was January 18th.
I'm sorry. January 18th, 2013. Okay.
I probably should have had the police officer come with me today that actually came out to the house, and if y'all would like, I can probably call him.
What happened to that charge?
That happened to that charge. I went on and pled guilty. We have a child together, 11-month-old baby that we have together. I was accused of head-butting her. That's what we went to court for.
And you pled guilty.
And I pled guilty.
Did you have a lawyer?
I had a lawyer. My lawyer told me that...
I don't want to ask what your
Okay.
lawyer told you, please. You pled guilty, I assume, to a misdemeanor domestic assault, right?
Right.
You're on 11 months, 29 days probation right now?
They did away with it. They just gave me some classes.
All right, so you had to do the anger management, domestic violence classes.
Right. They gave me
50
that
classes or 26?
26, and then they told me
Okay.
that they'll go ahead and do what they need to do after that.
So you must still be on probation.
They just told me the classes. I don't know about no extra stuff. I go and do the classes, and that's it.
February
I
26,
have a probation
2012.
officer.
February 26, 2012, you're charged with aggravated assault. No?
It's on there. I have never been convicted. I've never.
What's on where? I'm sorry.
It's on the paperwork.
The judgment form here?
Yeah, everything is over there. I have never been convicted of no aggravated assault. Never in my life.
Just asking you if you were charged. According to the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation's report, on February 26, 2012, you were charged with aggravated assault.
Oh, that's with the Stephanie. That's with the Stephanie Douglas one that you was reading about, with the aggravated, the one you just got through reading.
I can't match the paperwork up then. The judgment form that I got done reading before, where you said you pled guilty to count 2, domestic assault, and went on 11 months, 29 days probation. That offense occurred April 26, 2011, according to the judgment form that you provided me. The TBI has another report for February 26, 2012, arrest for aggravated assault.
I've never been charged with aggravated assault. I mean, I've never been convicted. They may have tacked it on there, but they did away with that. If you would like, I can get you a fax sent over here. That's how sure I am of it. I've made mistakes in my life, sir, but I don't feel like my mistakes should keep me from bettering my children.
All right, so this one of February 26, 2012, you're saying you never were arrested, never were charged with it.
Never was charged with it.
All right. Now, we've gone through the April 26, 2011, where you're charged with aggravated assault and domestic assault, and you pled guilty to the domestic assault.
Right.
What's the contempt violation of corrections? What was that about?
What contempt?
July 25th, 2010, you were charged with, looks like, violation of probation, because it says contempt, parenthetical, violation, COR.
Oh, the COR, because me and her were caught in the car going somewhere together.
And you weren't supposed to have any contact with her?
Right, me and her was in the car going somewhere. I was taking
Is
her
that
to the
Stephanie Douglas?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So why'd you get stopped that the two of you were found in the car together?
I got pulled over for going over the speed limit. They pulled me over. They seen it was a COR. They put me in handcuffs. She came and bonded me out.
Okay. You also had a violation of the order of protection.
Stephanie Douglas.
Yeah. But there was an order of protection she had against you, right?
Right. And we got caught.
What were the facts of the violation of that order of protection?
We got caught together again, and then when they locked me up, she come and bond me out with the business money.
Now, going back to my earlier question of why would you stay in a relationship with Stephanie Douglas over all these years with these serious charges brought against you, you were also ordered to stay away from her and disobeyed that order, right?
At that time, yeah, because we stayed together. We still lived in the same household.
All right, and we talked about the February 28, 2010 domestic assault charge.
Yes, sir.
And now, I'm going back 3 years before, or 5 years before that, 2005. What's the aggravated burglary charge about?
It's on there, sir, dismissed.
When you say on there, sir, you talking about on one of these judgment forms?
Yes, sir, it's on there. The court laid out, she was explicit about the way that y'all do things, so she wrote some notes in there.
Okay, it looks like actually what happened in 2005 is you were arrested for aggravated burglary, indicted for theft of property between $1,000 and $10,000, and that case was dismissed.
Yeah, okay now. All right.
But the dates don't completely match up. One says November 4th and the other
She
says
said to tell
October
y'all that there's a
28th.
difference when you go to big court and then when you in, small court. So they charge you with this down here. They put it up here, and so it makes it look like it's more than one. You know what I'm saying? It makes it look like it's more than one charge or whatnot. But
Actually, it went down for you. It went from aggravated burglary down to just theft of property.
and then the police officer actually came to my house and asked me about the person and realized that it was the wrong person. She charged him, and now he's on probation.
I just don't have any more questions. Thank you. Do you have anything to add?
Yes, sir, I do. Yes, sir, I do. The reason why I applied for this license, first of all, I have a Class A CDL. I was driving over the road trucks. But the reason why I applied for this is because now with this domestic thing right here, I got an 11-month-old baby that the court, I had to go through court, get all this other stuff. Now they granted me, visitation with my son. So I'm trying to get everything situated and everything done in my life that I can better my life. I understand that I made mistakes, and as you can see, a lot of this stuff that was on me was dismissive because I made bad decisions in life. But me personally, I feel like I'm trying, and I'm trying to do the very best I can. That's it.
Prior to these judgments and going back to 1999, you were actually convicted of criminal trespass? You pled guilty to it?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That was in '99.
And then you had probation, but your probation was revoked, or at least a petition to revoke your probation occurred,
It's
right?
because it was attached to the simple kidnapping.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
What was the trespass charge about?
Being on somebody else's property and wasn't supposed to be there.
Okay. In '99, were you also charged with aggravated sexual battery?
That's on the paperwork. That's dismissed. They were taking charges like...
Were you charged?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
They were taking charge. You know how you charge somebody with sexual battery? That was leading up to the charge, the rape charges you're talking about that she put. That was dismissed. It's on the paperwork.
But these were separate charges occurring by separate warrants, weren't they?
I don't know how they did it, sir. I just know they dismissed it. The lady left for...
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
you were there. You got arrested, charged,
Right.
arrested, charged,
over
arrested,
11
charged.
years ago.
Well,
Yes.
and one of them wasn't dismissed. That was, you pled guilty to one of them,
Plead guilty to what?
to the trespass charge.
Oh, to the trespass. I thought you were talking about a sexual charge.
No.
No, I didn't plead guilty to that because I wasn't guilty.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Commissioners, are there any other questions for Mr. Mims?
Mr. Mims.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
You have a company that's willing to take you on.
Yes, sir.
What's that company?
Rescue professionals.
Are they, is anybody from management here today?
Yeah, he's back there.
The sheet with his record. The sheet, the back side of the page that we copied.
When did you come off probation in Davidson County?
They just gave me a class. They didn't give me a probation officer or nothing. They just told me to do the class, and that's all I was asked to do. The lady said there was no probation. She said that it was that's what I
What's the sentence then? You pled guilty, there's a sentence.
Yeah.
They ordered you to, do, as a condition of something, to do the classes.
Yeah, they told me to do the class, and the classes take about 6 months or something like that, 4.5.
It's 26 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, it take about 6 months. They said after they get done with that, the lady said they probably gonna just release me. I've been doing good on
All
everything.
right, so you're on probation, and when you complete the classes, they'll consider early termination of your probation because you've done the conditions of your probation.
Yeah, but she
Have you
told
paid your court costs and fines?
everything.
Everything? Good.
She told me that that's not considered the same as going into a probation office. I'm not doing that.
No, you don't have to report.
Right. That's what she told me.
Mr. Mims, you can have a seat while the commission further deliberates.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I'll just make a few comments that I don't get to vote on the matter unless there's a tie, but it does appear that Mr. Mims has I will say it looks like he's been forthcoming with his disclosures regarding his criminal history and convictions and dismissals. The most recent domestic assault occurring in 2012 concerns me, despite Mr. Mims' statements that he was tired of the situation and pled out. It is nonetheless a conviction involving bodily harm, and that is a serious concern anytime we get a driver application to consider denial of an application. In addition, there are a number of other arrests which resulted in dismissals recently, but they're arrests nonetheless for a number of other charges involving allegations of harm. So I'll just make those comments, and if anyone else has any further comments about it, unless there's other comments, I'll consider a motion.
My reflection of this is the concern about the repeated domestic assault charges and convictions. The 2012 domestic assault conviction out of Montgomery County, and then recently this year in 2013 a conviction for domestic assault involving bodily injury, with a history of violent offenses, both charged and convicted, from kidnapping to aggravated assault and to other domestic assault charges, and then the disregard of the court's orders to stay away for the violation of order of protection. I mean, despite not having a report, I think Mr. Mims is currently on probation right now in Davidson County, and that would be easy enough to find out if we wanted to defer this, and I can run that pretty quickly and find out. But I don't know if I'm allowed to do investigative work, but I think, based on what he's explained to me today, with 26 weeks of anger management classes and battered intervention program to do, that would tell me he's still on probation, because they're going to want to know that he completed the classes. And I'm sorry? Yeah. Been advised that I actually have a staff that can investigate and obtain that information. So, you know, and I feel for the fact that you know, it takes courage to go to trial on a rape case and then have a jury come back not guilty. That's you know, that says something about that case there. But that's my reflections.
Mr. Fields, what do the regulations say as to probation and anything specific in that regard?
Let me review it with you just a second.
While he's doing that, I also want to point out or refer again to what Mr. Mims said, is he's trying to get his life around. He has a 11-month-old child, and he has to support his family. Okay. Well, we got kidnapping though.
But it has to be within 5 years.
Oh, 5 years.
I think this one maybe.
You want me to read that out loud? Sure. If I'm allowed to.
I'd appreciate it.
Okay. Legal counsel just pointed out this section to me that involves misdemeanors. The kidnapping case being more than 5 years old would not disqualify Mr. Mims. Now, subsection C talks about an applicant shall also be disqualified if they've been convicted or released from incarceration due to 2 or more felony offenses within the past 10 years. That doesn't apply. Applicants with a record of lesser convictions may be required to appear for a commission hearing to determine if a permit will be approved. A management representative of the employing record company must also appear at the hearing. Upon denial of an application for a record driver permit, no new application may be submitted for consideration for a period of 3 months.
I would interpret that to mean it said y'all disagree.
It's,
Mr. McNally, based on, you can read these reports a lot better than I can. When are the classes over?
26 weeks. When you say a 26-week battered intervention domestic violence programs, that's just one class a week. And Mr. Mims is shaking his head up and down. That seems to be consistent with his experience. But it's not in the records. That's just from my own experience of what I do. There can be 50-week classes or 26-week classes. 26 is the half a year of doing it.
And with the, I guess, unsupervised probation, would that be over when those classes would be complete?
Well, that would be at the discretion of the probation officer to terminate probation if he has completed all the terms of his conditions of probation. In my humble opinion, he's not on unsupervised probation.
Okay.
He's on probation where he doesn't have to go in the office to report, but the probation officer is going to be looking for a certificate showing completion of those classes.
An ongoing
If
participation.
you don't complete those classes, there'll be a probation violation warrant issued. But I think she's holding the carrot out saying, you do these classes, you pay your court costs and fines off, and you'll be in a right position to have your probation terminated early, probably 6 months early. And Mr. Mims shaking his head up and down again. I think that may be consistent, but.
Going along the lines of what you stated, he was very forthcoming with his application. He brought management representation. Would it be an idea to defer this to the point where his classes are over, where he's off of probation? Are we allowed to do that?
I see a lot of heads shaking up and down.
It's your authority to consider whatever within the ordinance and the rule that Mr. McNally just said. You would have the authority to defer action until the completion of the 26-week class, if that's what you chose.
It might be better for him because if it gets outright denied, then he has to wait for 3 months before he can reapply. So deferral might give him a little bit.
Good. Mr. Mims, could you come forward one more time, please? When is your last class of the battered intervention domestic violence?
I'm not sure the actual date because I don't have that paperwork in front of me right
Roughly.
now. I would say around about November, close to December.
So you just started? How many classes have you been to?
I've been to about 10 classes.
16 more. 4 months.
He's well over a third of the way there, so.
Yeah, and then she told me that I don't need to report. She don't see no need of me having to report or none of that. She said it's just like just come to the class on Thursdays and that's it.
Classes, are you getting anything from the classes?
I'm actually talking in the classes.
No, that's good.
She lets me talk.
Are you getting anything from the classes?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
A whole lot.
You know, I'm going to address you directly. My concern is that you have a bad criminal record
Yes, sir.
behind you, and you have problems with women. Now, you may say it's their fault or they charged you, but clearly you're getting arrested through your relationships with women, which are problems. They may not be of your fault, they may not be of your origin, but when you have problems, it looks like it's all stemming from the relationships with women that aren't healthy.
Yeah.
I would like to see you finish these classes, gain from them, before I entrusted you to sometimes pick up cars where women may be on the side of the road, abandoned, or things of that nature. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
I do. Can I say something?
Of course.
I have not been accused of attacking nobody. I have not been accused of, you know what I'm saying?
You're really going off the edge there because you have been accused of attacking and kidnapping and aggravated assault and assault with a weapon and bodily injury. So it may not have happened. I wasn't there, but you have been accused. And you pled guilty.
To the domestic assault.
Well, that's a serious offense, and Davidson County takes that very, very serious.
You know, I'm just saying, I'm not no violent offender. This is, other than this stuff right here, I haven't been in trouble in as far as felony wise in 13 years. When I was young. I'm 37 years old now.
Mr. Mims, you were on probation out of Montgomery County in 2012 for domestic assault.
Right.
In less than a year, you got arrested again in Davidson County and convicted of domestic assault.
What I'm saying.
Please do not minimize what your criminal record is.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm just saying, sir. I'm trying. That's it.
I believe you there. Yes, sir.
Can we defer until?
You can defer till the November meeting if that's the, if you deny it, he cannot reapply for 3 months. So if you defer, it means you just keep the application open, and then he would check back with him, and then we would ask him to reappear for your November agenda.
I would ask that he appear with a copy of the certificate of completing the domestic violence battered intervention program.
What may make sense then is for him to come back to the commission once he's completed, come back to staff, and then we can place him on the, rather than place him on November, then have to defer it.
Okay.
If you were to, I think you're right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Mr. Mims, do you understand what we're suggesting?
I totally understand.
Okay.
So, I move deferral until proof of successful completion of the terms of the probation are presented to the staff. And that would include the completion of the 26-week program.
I second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Mr. Mims, I will point out that what this means is we are deferring a ruling on your application until you come back with your certificate of completion of your 26-week course. That does not necessarily mean your application will be granted at that time, but your application will come back up before the commission for consideration. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Next on our item on our agenda is a driver request to transfer companies by Clarence Knight. Mr. Fields.
I'm not sure if Mr. Knight's here. Mr. Knight had he had been placed, the action the commission took was that he was restricted to a specific company. Has completed 11 months of that, and he'd like to move to another company. If he waits till next month, he will not need permission. He'll be off his probationary period, so he could actually change without anyone. He may have just chosen not to appear and just go that route. Okay.
Is his presence required?
His request is in front of you. I don't know that it's really required. That's up to the commission. What you do is reduce his restriction to the company for the 11 months. They would just release it, then he could go to any company that wanted to hire him.
And he's up for probation, just to be clear, next month.
Next month.
We're off probation.
And
Did you
to
send
my
him a
knowledge,
letter?
I'm sorry.
Did you send him a letter stating that he's on the agenda?
We actually talked with him and sent him a letter, I think.
Okay. And if we denied it, he'd be off of it next month, just to be
Next
clear.
month, correct.
What was the reason why he was on probation?
I think it was just the typical kind of things that that you would hear on any driver. I don't have that right in front of me, but it would be something that concerns you enough that you want to make sure that he stayed with that particular company.
I move for denial.
Motion for denial is on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of denying the application for a reduction of probation from 12 months to 11 months, say aye.
Aye.
The driver request then is denied. Next item on our agenda is under taxi cabs. We have a driver application by Dario Kozel. Mr. Kozel? Would you like to make a statement?
It's pretty simple. I was trying to renew my driving permit.
I'm sorry, could you speak up, please?
I was trying to renew my driving permit for the Music City taxi, and I went to do a drug screen, and I kind of failed it. Came back with the results of cocaine being in my system. That was on a Thursday. I don't remember exact date. It was somewhere in March or April, I believe. When the guy called me from the lab and told me that I failed the test, I didn't know why. It was not understanding to me, so I went right day after. I went and redone it again, and it showed again. So I sat back and think, because I never did drugs in my life. I used to drink, but I done dropped that too. So I think back, and I remember that we was at my house. My two cousins came to my home, and we had a little party and stuff. And I had a few drinks because my father just passed away a year before that, and you know, kind of went downhill for a minute. But some guy that came with my cousin, I believe he was the one that was actually putting that cocaine in a cigarette and smoking it. So I smoke about a couple packs a day, sir, not gonna lie. But I guess he laid a cigarette down in an ashtray if I accidentally replaced it with mine or something, because I had a few drinks, I'm not sure. That's what I think the only reason could be, that they could have found it in my system, and I don't know what else to say.
I'm looking at your application, Mr. Kozul. Is it Kozul?
Kozul.
Kozul.
Yes, sir.
And you've disclosed 2 violations of the law in which you're required to disclose every violation of a federal, state, or local law with which you have ever been charged, whether convicted or not, including expungements. You've listed a 2013 seatbelt violation and a 2011 improper turn violation.
Yes.
Can you tell us why you didn't disclose any of your other violations that you're talking about this afternoon?
I'm pretty sure that all the application, when I came to reapply for my permit again, after it was denied, I believe somebody from the office told me, like, put everything that was on there plus whatever you have new that came after the permit expired, I believe. So I'm thinking that I mistakenly just put a 2 on there, and I didn't put the rest of them. And it's not intentional, I promise. It's
It's showing here that you had the drug test on June the 3rd. When was it that you would have had that
It
late
should
cigarette?
be, I would say, a couple days, 3 days before I went to do a drug test. I'm not really sure. It should be a couple days, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'm just going to talk about a reasonable point. Like, we have a whole year we have a certain time to do this drug test. And why would I go over there and do myself, you know, a big mistake of a life, you know? Why would I do that when I had plenty of time to either stop using drugs? If I was using it, I would stop it.
What actually got Mr. Kazul here today, last fall he applied. He reapplied. He'd been a driver previously. He missed the renewal period. At least I think that's what happened. When he tested on October the 1st, he tested positively of 2012 for cocaine, and then he went back, as he said he did, on October the 4th, and again tested positive. The rules require that he cannot reapply for 6 months. So he waited the 6-month time period, and now he's back requesting a permit. His last test would have been on, as you said, June the 21st, and he tested negative.
I'm seeing another one here for date of collection June 3rd, and I'll be honest, I'm not sure how to read it, if it was positive or negative.
It's negative.
Oh, it is negative. Okay, it's at the bottom.
And you did successfully complete the, there was another item related to domestic assault, and you successfully completed your,
Yes, sir. I was
Okay.
successfully off the probation. I mean, I was on a restricted permit for a while, and then when I came to renew it, I was off of it.
Something the commission could help me with, or Mr. Fields, cocaine, wouldn't that stay in your system? Let's say you had it in January, I'm sure it would still stay in it positive on a drug test. How many months out? Do we have an idea of that?
I don't, I could.
3 days, max.
3 days.
I do, 3 days.
Half-life is real short. It's not like marijuana, which is 30 days. That's what concerns me when you say you had this cigarette
I used to drink,
sometime
sir,
before the
and
first.
I smoke a lot. Honestly, I smoked. He killed my father 2 years back. Lung cancer. I smoke 2 packs a day. I'll be honest, and just that's the only thing I'm doing. I've never tried drugs in my life.
No, you have no criminal record for drugs.
No, sir.
Yeah.
No, sir.
and when was that party you were talking about?
I would say a couple of days before that test. I can't remember that exactly. It was probably 9-10 months ago when I tried to do that test, and
Because
I failed.
I think I see 2 dates of collection, September 26th and September 28th,
Yes, sir.
and you're positive on both of those.
Yes.
And what day of the week do you think that party was on?
I would say a couple of days before that. And if,
But like the day, like
it would be either maybe Thursday or Friday. I would say so. Like I said, I can't remember all the way back there. You know, just I'm not sure. Not really sure.
I'm just thinking whenever we have a party, it's usually on a weekend, and you were tested positive on a Wednesday and a Friday. The 26th and 28th of September were a Wednesday and a Friday. So if the half-life was, well, anyway.
That's just the date it was passed by the commission.
Do you wear your seatbelt now?
Yes, sir, I do.
Got
It's just a habit now. When you get in the car, you just
Good.
You know.
It seemed like you had a habit of not wearing it.
Yes, I was actually in front of my house and I got pulled over. That's the new violation I had. It's pretty much the only one I had.
And who are you going to drive for?
I'm going back to my same old company, Music City.
Okay. We don't have a representative of them here, though.
He should be here. I don't know why he didn't came. I wanted to ask you guys to call him, but you guys was already in the session with the other gentleman who was here. He's supposed to be here because I called him on Tuesday afternoon around about this time and told him what time it was, and I called Miss Lisa twice to make sure. He told me he was going to be here, so I don't know why he didn't show.
We do have documentation from Music City that they do intend to hire him.
Okay.
Mr. Fields, you know, in his original application, were the disclosures made of his prior arrests?
As I've reviewed all of his permit, they were not in the last one, and I've also reviewed the other 2 that are in the folder, and they're not. He had several charges that he did disclose, but not those in particular.
And those were all within the past 10 years. Not all, but
To answer the question, how long, were your tests by urine or blood?
Urine.
Urine, okay. Just, at least what the Mayo Clinic says, you know, looking it up, 2 to 4 days in the urine and 90 days in the hair, 24 hours in the blood for cocaine.
Oh, wow.
So whether smoked or
I didn't
ingested.
even know that, sir, to tell you the truth.
And how did they test again?
Urine.
Sorry?
Urine?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I guess I'm torn that why would this gentleman go for a drug test knowingly having used cocaine where he has no other drug convictions? He's waited the 6 months. This is just me deliberating and thinking out loud, but it really tears me up that I don't see why anybody would go for a drug test knowingly use cocaine. So
Usually don't try to set yourself up for failure.
try not to.
Do I hear a motion on that?
Can I read one thing first, as far as from the rules that council's given to me here? It's a positive drug test. If a positive drug alcohol test is reported for a new driver applicant, the applicant will be ineligible for a driver's permit for 6 months. We've gone through that so far. At the end of this period, an applicant may reapply for the permit, but must test negative for drugs, alcohol, and be placed on a 6 months probationary period. During the 6 months probationary period, the applicant must consent to random testing not to exceed 1 test per month. If the applicant tests positive a second time, the applicant will be ineligible to reapply for a period of 1 year. The appeals of this denial may be made to the commission, so I guess the staff is able to take care of all that anyway.
And it looks like Mr. Kazul has recently, as of June, tested negative.
Well, I think what we could consider is 6 months probation with mandatory random drug testing.
Sounds like a good motion. Is there a motion?
If that's a motion, I'll second it.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of granting Mr. Kazul's driver application for taxi cab with probationary conditions of 6 months, subject to random drug testing during that time. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you so much.
Next item on the agenda, we have other vehicles for hire driver permit applications. First, we'll take Mr. Roy Brown's application. Mr. Fields.
Mr. Brown has applied to drive for one of the local companies, Gray Line. He had, when he turned in his application, there were some things that he left off. We, based on your rules, we determined that we needed to have him appear. And let me back up. I apologize for that. He did not leave them all. What he did do is list them, and again, they were of such a nature. I wanted to make sure you were aware of them prior to issuing the permits.
Mr. Roy Brown, would you like to come forward?
They're not new, but again, they're of a nature that you expressed a desire to see the applicants in this case.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Brown,
Yes.
do you have a statement?
Yes, this is something that happened about 11 years ago, and I've not violated any, I've completed my probation and all that I was required to complete, and I'm just trying to go on with my life, and I'm working for Gray Line, and I'm just trying to get a permit to continue working with Gray Line.
Can you give us a little bit more detail about the violation?
Yes, my stepson, it was on the weekend, he was watching cartoons, and I was washing dishes, and his mother told him to go get the laundry out of the washer and the dryer, put the wet clothes into the dryer, but he was upset about that.
How old was your stepson? How old was he then?
I think he was 8, I think.
Okay.
8 or 9, something like that. And he slipped. He was pulling the clothes out of the washer. He was on top of the dryer, and as he was pulling it, some of the clothes must have got on the dryer and made it slippery, and he slipped and fell and hurt himself. And the mother was not in there at all. She was in the living room, and she came in and into the where I was with my stepson, and she just assumed or accused me of what's on the paper there.
That's the child abuse?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What were the injuries?
I think it was a bruise on the side, and I think a bruise on his arm or something like that, some bruises.
What was your length of probation?
I believe it was 15 months, I believe.
Okay. What you described to me was an accident of the child slipping on something
Yes,
near
sir.
the washer dryer area, laundry room.
Yes, sir.
Why'd you plead guilty to child abuse?
It was in my best interest for my attorney. He told me to
Were you on diversion or anything?
diversion,
Just straight up probation?
just straight up probation.
Are you currently driving for Gray Line?
Yes, sir.
We only regulate those passenger vehicles which are below 15 passengers. So
What do you drive?
buses and other things would not be subject to our authority.
What do you drive for Gray Line?
They're just vans, like a minivan, to transport people from the airport to their hotels downtown on West End, and vice versa. We can pick them up down at their just Airport Express.
Oh, Airport Express.
Yes, ma'am.
And this offense was 10 years ago?
I believe it was 11 years.
11 years, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Who's here with you?
My employer, Beth Duncan, with Gray Line.
Thank you.
How long have you worked for Gray Line?
Since April 5th or the 10th of this year.
Would your employer like to comment at all on Mr. Brown? Would you like to come up and say a few words?
When I hired Mr. Brown in April this year, we do background checks, and these charges, I found them on the background checks that we run, and we talked about that, and just have found him to be a very polite, courteous man, and he's a good fit at Airport Express. We've never had any customer complaints. We're just in the process of having all our Airport Express drivers go through the security permits, and this came up, so. That's all I have to say.
And so he's currently driving for Gray Line vehicles that hold greater than 15 passengers, and he's going to transfer to a smaller vehicle?
Well, they're minibuses. They're 26 passenger
Yeah.
down to 15 passenger.
I make a motion that we accept this application and award the, why am I losing that word there?
Driver permit application.
Right, that we accept it.
I second that.
All right, there's a motion to grant Mr. Brown's driver permit application. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Our motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Beth.
Next item on the agenda, we have a driver permit application for an other vehicle for hire by Mr. Christopher Cornish. He was required to appear. I do not see him in the room. Mr. Fields?
I thought he wasn't he? He's not? I'm sorry, he's not present.
All right. Fellow commissioners, is there a motion regarding Mr. Cornish's application?
I make a motion that we deny application.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion is denied. Mr. Fields, is there any other business?
The only thing I'd like to share with you, at the August meeting, I'd like to have at least a couple of public hearings on a couple of issues. One in particular, I want to explore some language of the of the triangle that establishes the flat rate for the Music Valley Drive area, because currently it says Opryland, and there's more, obviously the Music Valley Drive area is also included, so there's sometimes confusion. We'd like to clarify that in the ordinance as well. Also, I would share with you that we have some new carriage stands coming on downtown that I'd like to be able to have some conversation about, as well as I would report today that the RPM, which is a local consulting firm, is doing a new traffic study that will include, it's called a downtown mobility study, which will include it'll include the taxi cabs, the horse and carriages, some proposed pedicabs and that sort of thing, looking at how buses and everything else interact with one another. We continue to have issues related to downtown with carriages in terms of carriages and taxi cabs and others. So we'd like to be able to have a public hearing that would address some of those issues. So that was more of an announcement. Unless you object, I'd like to do that at the August meeting along with any of the other agenda items.
Sounds good.
That sounds good. And I think I misspoke about Mr. Cornish's motion. I said motion was denied. Motion actually passed, and his application is denied.
Can I bring up a matter of the next meeting in August? I think we're scheduled August 22nd. I know we're down one member. I will not be here August 22nd. So I don't know if we need to reschedule or if we can go forward with the group we have. And the reason is my son is going to college and I have to go for family orientation. And I can't get the school to change.
It's very exciting.
I did have a conversation with Brian, and he was telling me that Tuesdays are better for him. And I'm not sure how many of you know this. In the past, our meetings were always on a Tuesday, and we changed to a Thursday. So it's something we may want to consider going back to. And I'm good with either day.
I'm actually better with Tuesday, so.
The only issue I would have is make sure we have availability of a room either here or at the Howard Complex.
And that we don't have conflicts with council that might be representing other commissions.
Well, we'd have that.
I'd have to check.
Now, I would be back here August
It would be third
27th,
Tuesday?
which is a Tuesday after our regularly scheduled meeting.
Well, I think the easiest way to resolve it is keep anybody with a criminal background off the agenda and let Pat go to orientation.
There are 5 Thursdays in August. If you wanted to move I'm assuming the room will be available on August 29th. I can check, or we could look at the Tuesday again. The meeting dates are your dates, so it's whatever.
Is there any kind of notice provision we need to give if we're going to be moving?
I think it's a posting issue more than anything else. We just have to announce it and post it on the website, and we'd notify all the companies and that sort of thing.
I know I would prefer, if we're going to move the August meeting, to move it to the Tuesday before the Thursday normally scheduled, if that's possible with everyone.
The 20th instead of the 27th?
Probably won't conflict with that.
Yeah, I'm gone from the 13th till the
You are?
25th. Yeah, he's going out to Colorado,
Gotcha.
so we're driving out there.
To Boulder?
No, Denison, Western Colorado State.
I have a niece at Boulder.
In
Boulder.
Which Tuesday, the 27th? That would be, again, I think the 5th Tuesday. If that would be available, it'd be like 4 days after the regular meeting would be scheduled.
27th and 29th are both fine with me.
Yep, me too.
Same here.
Let's pick the 27th then.
Okay, I'll inquire and advise you as quickly as I know.
27th instead of the 22nd.
Correct.
If the commission does decide to move its regularly scheduled meetings from Thursdays to Tuesdays, is there any kind of, does it need to be an item on the agenda, or is that something we can just choose to do?
I think you probably would. I'd want to ask you to go ahead and, since you approved the schedule, I'd ask you to approve another schedule by we may want to take action to move it to the 27th. I mean, for the next one.
I mean, I kind of think that's probably something that would, if it's a one-time shift, it could probably be done administratively. However, I mean, I think that we kind of have created an expectation that the meetings are on the third Thursday of the month, and so, yeah, if that's going to be a permanent shift, I definitely would think you'd want to take action so that anyone who There's some advantages to regularly scheduled meetings. There was a case that recently came down from the Court of Appeals that sort of made it more lenient in terms of open meetings notice requirements for regularly scheduled meetings. And so to take advantage of that, I think it would have to be our official regularly scheduled meetings. Otherwise, it's a specially called meeting, and you know, the notice requirements for agenda items is strict.
Do you want to make that an item on next month's agenda to consider moving our Thursday meetings to Tuesdays?
We actually, I guess, have a public hearing?
I don't think we need, well, if we're going to make it, if we're going to put, is it that in the rules that it's the third Thursday? Because then it would have to be a rulemaking.
Well,
and then
we
it would have
moved
to
it
be
about a year ago.
I don't think
from
so.
Tuesday to Thursday, so apparently it can be done.
Yes.
Yeah. We can double check. Let me check the availability of the room, and I'll communicate back to you.
And that will be done for the next meeting, which is the 27th.
Right, Tuesday, August 27th, 1:30 in this room, assuming that's available.
Commissioners, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion granted.
I just removed it.